Hello, good evening and welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, we'll be exploring the impact on Ghanaian businesses exporting to the U.S. market after President Donald Trump imposed a 10% tax on all imports. We will be speaking to the Chief Executive of Sleek Garment Export Limited, Madam Nora Bannerman-Abbott, who is a big exporter to the U.S. Also in this bulletin, more oil marketing firms reduce prices at the pumps. The latest is Vivo Energy, distributors of Shell lubricants. How sustainable is this? We shall be finding out from the Chamber of Consumers Ghana. Plus, Ghana's economy remains services sector driven as 92.3% of businesses in the country remain in the informal sector.
Employment perspective, output perspective, the economy is service driven. The conversation from our point of view is the intensity of the drive of the economy from a number of establishment perspective.
We have details of this and more lined up for you. Please stay. I truly appreciate your time. I am Pius Kojobaka. Looking at our stories, now the 10% tax on all imports to the U.S. market has finally taken off. This was after U.S. President Donald Trump signed off the necessary documents to enforce this reciprocal tariff on the imports to the U.S. But how bad will this affect Ghanaian businesses that export to the market? Let's get onto Zoom and speak with big exporter to the USA, Madam Nora Bannerman-Abbott. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Sleek Garment Export Limited. She joins us via Zoom. Thanks you so much, Madam, for your time here on Business Live. And first off, by way of education, I want you to tell us what kind of items do you export to the U.S. market, first off?
Okay, so it's mainly clothing, then uniforms. But then, of course, there are other products, other innovative products, like bags, like various accessories that are made out of fabric. So basically, any item that can be machine sewn.
All right. So for you, when you heard this news, how did you receive it?
To be honest with you, I've been preparing myself for this for a long time. And I must quickly say something. You know, when I entered the global market in the 80s, there were no tariff agreements with any country. It was based on innovative products and quality. And then China entered the market in the 90s, and then competitive pricing became an issue. Now, the US, as we know, is a country of, let's say, 50, I always call it a country, well, it's a country of 50 states. So it's actually one country, but with 50 countries within it. So it's therefore a huge market opportunity. Now, what President Clinton did during his tenure was to offer a gift to African countries that have democracy at the top of their, agenda. So it was the AGWA, Africa Growth Opportunities Act, enabling some African countries that got the visa. And incidentally, I sat on the committee that got Ghana the AGWA visa in 2000. I represented the private sector. So it created duty and quota-free access into the U.S. market, mainly to counteract the flow of goods coming in from Asia. You know, they wanted a variety and they wanted to create that opportunity for African partners. But to be honest with you, the opportunity has still been very limited under AGOA. It excites buyers. It really does excite buyers because buyers of mass products look forward to competitive prices so that they are doing well on the market. However, for those of us in manufacturing, especially in clothing, fashion, and other sectors, the key should be innovative products, it should be quality, and then for our nation, managers of our economy, it should be an environment that allows us to produce at lesser cost to be more competitive. You know, the lowering of electricity, there are other internal issues that we need to sort out. Because, hey, now we have AfCFTA. And Africa is the biggest, importer, if you look at the continent. And we're importing so much. So it's not just clothing. I don't want to limit it to clothing because I'm a member of the Association of Ghana Industries. And we have industries that are manufacturing in Ghana here. Just about everything we need from when we wake up to when we go to bed. The mattress we sleep on. You know, everything else that we require. You know, whatever we need to freshen ourselves with. And it is up to us now to, first of all, create domestic opportunity for local investors who have invested so much to manufacture these products. You know, there's excess capacity. And then let's look at the African market now. How do we enter into the African market and limit the importation and save USD and save the value of our currency? So I have to confess, I don't know what others will say to me, but truly I'm very excited about it. I've been in industry for 4.5 decades now, and I think that aid has not done Africa good. And I see that it was thrown away almost like a gift. But here we are, African continent with trillions of, buyers, let me call it consumers, for our services and our goods. We really need to delve into the opportunity locally. We need to also look at the cost of production locally, and let's take it from there.
That's fine.
This
so
is it
appears you are well prepared for a day like this. So am I to assume that you have plans in place to absorb any shocks whatsoever that may come along with this very policy direction?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So stronger marketing. Now we have agencies that are in our country to support marketing all around the globe. You know, there's the EU. We don't know what the EU may do, but I want to come back to Africa. So we need to look at how well we market our products in Africa. We were doing so well before. And as I said, just do a survey and you'll find that there is nothing that is not being manufactured. Even vehicles are being assembled here. But let's go down to the basics, right? To clothing, and fashionable other accessories and stuff. Footwear, fantastic footwear from Ghana, and everything else that we require. Foods. Now we are processing foods so that one can travel international with these, or just have them in your home if you are a busy individual. So, look, this comes as a blessing. Let's all accept it. And to tell you something, in my sector, let me just conclude. In my sector, for instance, the buyers have not been coming into Ghana anyway, because we've not been able to create the kind of environment that they want for us to offer prices out of China, which we are not able to do. So we should be looking at AfCFTA. Look at what we have. And then for government to also source local. And then let's build our economy on that.
All right. So there's been calls for other exporters who are unfortunately going to bear the brunt of this very move to explore other markets. And that is something they ought to consider, right?
Exactly. AfCFTA, the African market is importing clothing, importing what have you, and Ghana, we just importing. I don't want to go into that because I love my country so much and everybody loves Ghana. But we just importing about everything that we shouldn't be importing. So let's look at the cost of manufacturing and bring down our costs. Let's make manufacturing locally. I guess that's what America is trying to do. America is trying to get manufacturers to move into America. So Ghana, let's get manufacturers to come into our country. So let's also take a lesson from their book, which is to look at what tariffs. Why is it that imports are crowding out domestic products that we can manufacture here? So I think it's time for us to also sit up and learn from what is happening. The US calls it, what is it? It's almost like a tit for tat. But let's look into this. Why do we have such an influx of imports pushing out, everything? And I'll tell you something, the more we import, the more we take jobs away from our youth. So it's a wake-up call. It's a blessing in disguise. Let's take this blessing. Let's work with it.
Madam
The
Nora
African
Banaman.
market is huge. So please.
Madam Nora
It's
Banaman
there.
Abbott, thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time this very moment. We truly appreciate it. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Sleek Garments, speaking to us here on Business Life on the back of the move by U.S. President Donald Trump to increase import tariffs on all goods from Ghana, I should say. But we want to stay a while longer on this because we've got a reaction for you on that, and because finance professor at Andrews University, Dr. Williams Pipra, has underscored the need for Ghanaian exporters to maximize and strengthen opportunities available within the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and other international markets without tariff restrictions to trade. It follows a 10% increment imposed by President Donald Trump on Ghanaian exports to the U.S. market. He's been speaking to Joy Business.
Strategically, we already have some avenues available to us. The African Continental Trade Agreement is there for us. We have a good relationship with the European Union, and our Asian market, especially China and India, is also available to us. If they are not going to put tariffs on our exports, we may have to strengthen that kind of discussion, especially with AfCFTA, where Africans control our own trade agreements. And that is what is probably going to support our country. Another angle that probably, if we decide to make up for the revenue for, we know US will still need our raw materials. Ghana can decide to also bring an ad valorem tax on US raw materials if we decide to go on head-to-head with the US in that perspective.
Well, I know.
Away from tariff matters, more oil marketing firms are reducing prices of petroleum products at the pumps. The latest is Vivo Energy Ghana, distributors of Shell-branded products. More in this report.
Shell is selling a litre of petrol at 14 cedis 74 pesos this morning, while diesel is going for 15 cedis 45 pesos. This move by Shell follows a similar action by Petrosol, which also dropped its prices at the pumps. Some oil companies cite the cedi's performance over the past weeks and the favorable outlook of the local currency as reasons. However, market leader Gore has kept its prices unchanged. Some industry watchers argue that more oil firms may reduce their prices at the pumps in the coming days due to market competition. This is the fourth consecutive reduction in petroleum product prices since February. At a time when general price levels of goods and services are slowing down, this development could help reduce the cost of living and put pressure on transport operators to reduce fares.
Let's explore this further and bring in the Chamber of Consumers Ghana. Its Chief Executive, Duncan Amwa, joins us via Zoom. Duncan, thanks so much for your time on Business Life. Refreshing to know prices of petroleum products are dropping at the pumps. Vivo Energy, the latest to, adjust prices.
Dynamic to speak. For petrol, for this window, international market prices declined by some $27 a metric ton within the window. So it didn't come as a surprise to us. Diesel also saw some $13 adjustment upwards. Plus and minus, give or take, the cost of petrol already, which is PMS, was quite high for the market. And so we were not surprised that the major oil marketing companies decided that for the first window in April, they were going down further for the price of petrol. And so far we have recorded about 3.6% reduction on pump prices, particularly for the price of petrol. And like I indicated, the city has been very stable. You also have a situation where international market benchmarks have seen a decline, and then have any new taxes slapped on the Ghanaian consumer. there's simply been a decline of some 3.6% recorded so far across forms.
All right, but the question on the minds of many is how sustainable is this, looking at the relative stability of the cedi like you attributed?
Let me point this out, that as a country, we seem not to probably get a strategy that we have been discussing over the years. At this point, international benchmarks are declining. There's no better time for us to have stored products than this time. Unfortunately, we are simply serving as price takers. As I speak with you, we don't have too much even for Bost. We don't have much for the largest oil marketing company, which is Goil. So along the line, you record a few shortages here and there for sometimes AGO. You don't have enough on the market. We are simply not getting the strategy to take advantage of the reduction in international market benchmarks to at least store up. And so as it stands, we would enjoy the free fall, we enjoy the free ride, but as to whether we'll be able to take advantage of what the market is delivering currently, your guess would be as good as mine. Maybe authorities should take cognizance of where we are and the fact that we could turn from the bearish to the bullish, and then if that happens, then it will mean that the prices that we are seeing declining would have to go up at some point. We would need to plan for our people. That, I insist, is not being done at present. We simply are a price taker. Whatever the market throws at us, we throw it back to the Ghanaian consumer. We are not getting the strategy. Until we get that, when it goes down, it will go down, but then it might also go up another day. And that is what we always advocate for authorities to plan towards, because we would want to enjoy this reduction so that our pockets could be a bit easier and companies could also plan their consumption. But
I then guess Duncan, that you are satisfied with the margin of reduction if you enjoy the free fall like you are mentioning.
Indeed, the OMCs have done quite well. If you look at the supply pressures that we have over the period, we seem not to have so much of the product in the market. And so if you talk to some of the depots, they don't have as much as you would expect them to have. And so it wasn't shocking that the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC, per their review, were quite certain that prices were going to go up. Indeed, in basic economics, anytime you have a supply drop and then you have a demand sustainability or an increase, you will definitely see prices also increase. But as it stands, the OMCs have been very magnanimous per this window, too much to the disaffection of probably their mother body that expected them to have increased prices. They have gone down, and that for us, we say an applause to them. It is welcoming, it is refreshing. They have done more than good to all of us.
In a minute, Duncan, what's the outlook like?
Indeed, you have prices continue to tumble globally. Again, you would hope that the cedi would continue to perform as good. And then again, a new government equally is not looking at adding taxes, except for the very recent conversation where you have the interior minister who proposed that we should add a few pesos to firefighting for Ghanaians. The government is not adding new taxes. So that is good news. But we would want to see a deliberate government policy towards storing products so that even if we woke up in the middle of April, May, June, and then international markets have had to go up, we would still be able to sustain the kind of gains that we have recorded. Anything other than this, we may be in for a long run of surprises when the trend reverses. They need to take advantage of international markets now and do something for the benefit of June, July, April. September usually is quite a bullish, period.
All right.
And so you need to plan for some of those months now.
That's fine. Executive Secretary of COPEC, Dan Kadamwa, I truly appreciate your time on Business Live. Still watching Business Live with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We are pausing for a breather. We'll be right back with more. Hello again. Ghana's economy is still services sector driven. That's according to the 2024 Integrated Business Establishment Survey released by the Ghana Statistical Service. The report also showed that 92.3% of businesses in the country are in the informal sector. It also emerged that between 2014 to 2024, 1.2 million businesses were established. More in this report.
The report further revealed that over 1.2 million businesses was established between 2014 to 2024, with most recording low revenues annually. Also, one-tenth privately owned establishments in the services sector are formal, which is more than 6 percentage points higher than the shares of industry and agricultural sector.
Over the 10-year period, from 2014 up until 2024, the structure of the economy has remained the same, irrespective of the metric. Number of establishments, number of persons engaged by the establishment, employment perspective, output perspective, the economy is service-driven. The conversation from our point of view is the intensity of the drive of the economy from a number of establishment perspective. So we believe that the take-home message for the government is that if we really want to influence the output of the economy from a structure perspective, the first port of call is the number of establishments that we have. If we continue to have over 90% of the establishments in the services sector, employing more than 3/4 of them in the services sector, then it naturally follows.
The Ghana Statistical Service report also showed that at least 55% of large-sized and medium-sized privately owned establishments are formal. However, more than 3/4 of privately owned establishments are in the services sector, with those owned by non-Ghanaians having the highest proportion of 86.9%.
We look at this from the formal sector and from the informal sector perspective. Chairperson, here we are worried about two things. We are concerned about two things. One is having a lot more firms in the informal sector, and two is having a lot more firms that are very new, less than 10 years. The first part of the concern is that we still have about 71% of firms that are 50 years and older and are still in the informal sector. One was expecting that once firms stay longer, the likelihood of finding them, the likelihood of making sure that they keep records for their own growth will be pretty much easier than newer firms. But we still have firms which are 50 years and older, specifically 71% of them, which are still in the informal sector. And this definitely calls for reflections on how we intervene to support our businesses.
The Greater Accra has the highest proportion of privately owned establishments operating as formal, recording 12.8%. James Chen's report for Joy Business.
Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Kwesi-Sapong, has assured that all electronic transfer levy deductions after April 2 will be refunded. This follows directive for all charging entities to have the deductions after the Ghana Revenue Authority secured Gazette notice for the repealing the tax. He's been speaking to journalists at a retreat for the top management of the Ghana Revenue Authority. More in this report.
The assurance from the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Sapon, is in line with earlier directive to the charging entities to halt the charging of the e-levy and other taxes that were assented to by the President. He indicated that there has been an agreed guideline for all parties to follow in getting rid of the tax. He assured of his commitment to get all charging entities to refund any levy charged after 2nd April 2025.
Indeed, we had a lengthy conversations with the charging entities, and we prepared a program of action to enable them implement the law as soon as it comes into effect. We do know that this is technology issue, so ideally we had agreed with them that early morning of today, which is 3rd April, the charging system should all be taken off, and we believe that they are working on it. But if for any reason anybody has suffered the e-levy in this intervening period, the assurance to every Ghanaian is that we're going to go back to reconcile with all the charging entities and make sure that anybody who has suffered the levy from 00 hours of 2nd April will get their refund duly given to them.
The two-day retreat by the management of the GRA forms part of initiatives to reflect and strategize on how to meet the revenue target for the year. Speaking on behalf of the Finance Minister, Director of Revenue Policy at the Ministry of Finance, Daniel Nwe, assured the GRA of government support in mobilizing more revenue for the state.
Let me assure you that the government of Ghana through the GRA is steadfast in the commitment to ensuring a conducive environment for voluntary tax compliance. We are in a modern, efficient, and we need a modern, efficient, and customer-centric revenue administration, and this is vital to achieve this goal. In line with this vision, substantial efforts are made to digitalize various aspects of tax processes, and government will continue to support the GRA to do this.
The retreat is under the theme, Transforming for Impact and Growth.
And we know the IMF officially began its crucial 4th program review with the government ahead of the scheduled August 5 date. Enjoy Business is learning that the discussion started yesterday. Initial talks have focused on the country's tax revenue system, particularly the VAT system. Concerns are growing that the country may fail this review following its inability to meet most of last year's targets. And there are also speculations that the issue of extending the program could be picked up during the mission. Bringing you more subsequently, I am Pius Gojobaka. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.